Okay, and welcome back to the Ghost Encounters of the Third Kind podcast. This episode, we're going to talk about a book I've actually nearly finished. I've been wanting to read it for a good time. And it's called This House is Haunted by Guy Lyon Playfair. You will know it as the Enfield Haunting. So, Marie and Nick, what do you think about this case?
Well, to be honest, I'm not really up on these poltergeists. Obviously, we've had a few chats. It's all very interesting. I don't know whether I believe it or not. Possibly, maybe not. I might be on the fence with whether I believe it or not. How about you, Marie?
I get a bit confused with the poltergeist cases myself because of my belief of what a poltergeist is. This Enfield case kind of contradicts that. Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy about this case, isn't there? I'll just go straight in. The massive thing that I've just actually read today is Janet supposedly went through a bedroom wall into next door's house, Nottingham's, and left a book. Do we think that's actually possible, to leaving a book next door? Well, I don't know if she left the book, but I don't know if it's possible for it to actually pass through a wall.
Yeah, see, don't believe about the poltergeist, but I do actually believe that you could actually pass through a wall.
So it's like teleportation.
Yeah.
Would you go through the wall or just?
I think it's possible to go through the wall, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
I know it sounds daft, but I think it could happen.
Something happened for a book out of her room to be found next door within a couple of minutes of it being checked.
I would be more inclined to believe that could be moved by somebody's mind or somebody's energy, projecting that or willing it to happen, over believing that somebody's physical body can pass through a solid brick wall. That's difficult for anybody to wrap their head around, even a true believer, I think, personally.
How would you say they actually go through the wall? I can understand. I'm with Marie on this, to be honest with you. Flesh and bones going through a solid brick wall. I don't know that could happen.
Yeah, but I don't know all the science behind it, but they say that nothing's actually fully solid. Atoms and all that kind of malarkey. But I don't know. I think it could be possible.
I think it might have something to do with vibrations, Nick, because they reckon everything's vibrating and everything's made from...
Yeah, could be vibration.
It isn't the first case, because while reading this, and there's a lot of stuff I've found out about, there's more than one case of matter passing through matter on poltergeist cases. Why this case was on at Enfield, there was actually one going on at the same time, just down the road.
At the same time?
At the same time, because Maurice Gross actually went and investigated it, why this was going on.
Okay, is that a famous one? Do we know about it?
Wow, this is another good one for me, because I've actually, from reading this book, there's another two cases that I shall be reading about.
See, I think most people have heard of the Enfield Poltergeist because of the dramatisation and the films that have come out about it. But I don't think, even I wasn't aware of another case just down the road. I don't think that's a well-known fact.
No, it isn't. And what was unusual about this was in a flat, and it was just, it was in London, and it was just a man and a woman, no kids involved at all. I don't know the ins and outs of it because it doesn't go into the book, but I shall be researching that.
Interesting.
To have a look at that, which is unusual. There'd be no youngsters.
Yeah, where do you get the information from for that though? Is that documented on...
It may well be.
Yeah, it will, if it involved an SPR member, the notes and the records
Maurice
would probably
Gross went
be
investigated.
But as we know, that's was it Cambridge? They were all held in the Cambridge Library, so it's a journey.
Actually in Cambridge, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But he actually went to the SPR and asked permission to go do it. They give him permission to go and investigate this one as well. So that should be in
That
there.
might have to be an outing, one weekend
Yeah.
as a visit
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the
to the
Cambridge
library.
SBR library.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
But that takes us a bit about to what Faber's posted on the Facebook page about the people reporting, documenting. Because I thought them figures were low, what she posted. And there was loads of hoo-ha about that on the
Yeah,
on the page.
there's obviously they were just reported, and how many go unreported?
Loads. I've never reported any of mine.
And I've never reported any
No,
of
I haven't
mine.
either, no.
And I think people that go out searching for these things don't report them. It's just the average Joe that might be walking down the road or visiting somewhere that experiences something strange, I think may or may not report it. But I'm a big believer in paranormal instances happen all the time. We don't even notice most of them.
Yeah,
We're not aware of them, or we just shrug them off.
And a lot of the groups
so
that go out, they don't document the
No.
findings after.
No.
A lot of them say they do, but they don't.
And I know it caused a few comments on the post, and people were saying, if this is the case, where's all the evidence? We know how difficult solid evidence is to capture. It's very rare. And let's be honest, when you do capture something that we feel as evidence, you show it to somebody else that wasn't there, and it's, well, that could be this, or did you do that, or
I'm as guilty as anybody.
you
for
know.
not
So you think
believing
you've got
something if
evidence,
I
and you're
wasn't there.
still not
Yeah,
believed.
that's
So
it, yeah.
you can't win, can you?
No, we can't.
You can't
We'll
win.
never be able to win in this game, never.
No.
No. There's some people that have, shall we say, aren't that trustworthy. And if they did catch a real ghost, nobody would ever believe them
No.
because of that.
No.
But I am, like, getting back to what you said, I'm as guilty as anybody else. If I wasn't there, I have an hard time. Unless I know the person.
Yeah.
And I believe the person.
I think 9 out of 10 experiences for people that go out and look for it are personal experiences anyway. You are the only one that feels that or witnesses that, and it stays personal, doesn't it? And you can't prove it to anyone. So I think we've had a couple of, I think we have captured evidence. I think we've had a couple of good instances where things have just come together all at once. Like we've had, the time that we had the 2 EMF meters working in unison, but they were a few good 6 to 10 feet away, working in unison. I turned around, saw a face in the mirror. You immediately took some photographs.
Yeah.
In that photograph, we saw what looked like a face in the mirror.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of occurrences all come together at the same time. To me, that's my evidence.
Yeah, definitely.
But to somebody else, that would be, that could be this. And did you check that? And
It's funny, because I'll see something in a picture, and if somebody else can't see what I can see, it drives me mental. I was thinking, well, how can you not see that? It's dead plain,
I'm on quite a few of the paranormal pages on Facebook, and there's one on there where people post a lot of photographs that they've captured, and considering it's a paranormal group for people who are into the paranormal, every single picture, doesn't matter who you are and what it's of, just completely gets slated.
Yeah.
It's not real. You've made it up. It's a fake. It's dust. It's this. It's that. Everybody comments, and none of them are. It's really frustrating because obviously, we're not stupid. We know that some are made up. There's a lot of pareidolia that goes on, and when people really want to believe, they'll make it so, don't they? But
we get all that in the flat earth groups.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
No one believes it every time I post someone.
But let's just say out of 100 photographs, one is genuine.
Yeah.
What
I liked about the ones what you were talking about now is it was there straight away. It just hit you straight away. You saw it straight away.
Yeah.
Which was I thought was really good. I mean, I've got to go through. There could be something on all them photos I took last week or week before.
Yeah.
But what I'll have to do is, now I'm here with this, I can send it you both, and we can look through that.
I didn't get any.
I bet there's about 100. I bet there's about 100 pictures. So you just go through. There's a lot of dust, orbs, whatever. There's a lot of colourful stuff, but all the pictures I took were either in night vision or full spectrum.
So what kind of evidence was published in the book that you're reading? I've obviously seen the famous photographs of a... and I have to be honest with you, Nick, after what we've just been saying, that famous photograph of Janet...
Jumping.
She's jumping. Let's be fair. That is... It looks... If her legs were straight or she was in a, lying on her back in the air or something, but the fact she just looks like she's jumped off a bed. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Don't it?
Well, I think so.
Yes.
But they're adamant that she didn't. But, well, it's like we were on about this now, about that book being next to us, but it's the same. It's a classic poltergeist trait. Coins dropping from the ceiling on the floor. Yeah. Marbles dropping from the ceiling on the floor. Well, obviously, if they weren't stuck to the ceiling, they're coming through something, aren't they? So they're passing through something.
Yeah. And there's one with water, wasn't there?
There's always pools of water, and actually one of the things towards the end, which I didn't hear about, there was excrement everywhere in the Enfield, and there's a pool of water that absolutely stunk. So Nottingham from next door got a sample of it and took it into his work for having it tested. He had a go at him because it was actually cat pee, and they didn't own a cat.
No. I've been in an house where there's been dog wee on the floor and someone's had a little test of it.
But, so there's stuff that goes on with it all the time. That's a massive one, like you say, raining from the ceiling.
Which case was that in the police that went to a house of a poltergeist? Is that not the same house?
That's the police, She saw, the actual policewoman
saw the chair
move,
Yeah.
On the film, she's in there when it's raining, though, isn't she?
There's water did drip from the ceiling and everything.
Okay. But on the film, it was pouring through.
Yeah, on the film. But she actually did see the chair lift a little bit and move along. All the guys from the Mirror, I was just going to tell you his name, I can't remember his name, the photographer, and that all the Lego pieces flying around the room, they're just flying around from nowhere. They said that the kids had thrown them, obviously, but marbles. But when you see the evidence, like they said, when the marbles hit the floor, they just stopped dead. Didn't bounce, didn't roll, just stopped dead where they landed.
I think what spoilt it for a lot of people, that particular case, is they actually did admit to some faking, didn't they?
Well, they were caught out. They were caught out bending stuff in the kitchen.
Yeah, I think, am I right in saying that Janet said that when people were there, if nothing was happening, she felt as though she had to make something happen so that they would be believed and they would stay around.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
But the massive fake thing came from, I've actually just read this today, we were on about this coming up. Guy Line Playfair called the original from the Mirror, what are they called? Reporter from the Mirror back in to have a look, because things were getting that bad. But he sort of never turned up and everything. And then one night, why Maurice Gross and Guy weren't there, he turned up with 4 of the blokes.
The reporter did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was a bit naughty. And he went straight to the girls. And Peggy didn't know anything about it. She didn't know, the mother didn't know what was going on. And Rose, as they call her, who was Margaret actually, wasn't she? Rose has got like an attention span of, you speak to her for about five minutes and she'll go, yeah, just carry on with it. So this reporter was grilling her, and in the end she was just nodding and not taking any notice. She actually said, I was thinking about what I've got to do for school tomorrow and stuff like this. So he was saying, well, you're faking it, aren't you? You were doing the voices, aren't you? Yeah. And so they said that they'd admitted to faking everything when they actually hadn't. And also, which I didn't know, is Janet said she never even spoke to him. She wouldn't tell him anything.
But didn't Janet admit to bending
She got
cutlery and
caught.
stuff? Yeah.
She got caught.
Bending
Well, that
cutlery
was
in the
because
kitchen.
they didn't want it to... I haven't actually got to that part in the book yet. I know about that,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
haven't got to that part in the book yet. You know,
Yeah.
he's actually caught. He gave it some. Maurice Gross gave us some metal bars because they had one guy over who investigated and did a lot of work with Uri Geller. And he says, well, can she actually bend? Because they think Janet is actually a medium. They think
Right.
she's a psychic medium. They reckon she's that good. But they give her these pieces of metal in a tube. Says, well, bend them. And after about half an hour or so, she brought them back, saying, yeah, and they were bent, but they were like bent 45 degrees.
Yeah.
But the tube was bent as well, so she'd obviously just bent them, hadn't she?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so Maurice Gross and Guy in his book even said, says, well, we never mentioned them again, we didn't talk about them again.
Yeah.
So it's obviously she is doing stuff like that.
And if, you know, people listening, if they've watched the film, is it The Conjuring 2?
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it that's based on
Yeah,
this
2, yeah.
actual case? There's quite a bit that goes on. Obviously, it's a film, but I don't think the Warrens weren't even involved in the investigation, were they? Just so people are aware out there. I think did they turn up uninvited for one day, and
Yeah,
that was it
yeah,
when
I
it was
think
pretty
so.
much over and done
Well,
with? And
the book I'm reading is like 290 pages, and I've got about 40 pages to go, so, and they haven't even been mentioned yet.
so I've just heard a growl. I'm hoping that's one of the dogs.
I'm hoping it's in it. Live on the podcast.
Live spookiness.
So yeah, very interesting. Like I say, a bit confused about that poltergeist, because I've always been a big believer in a poltergeist as an abundance of energy, and yet I think Janet was sort of channeling actual spirits,
Yeah.
wasn't she? So
Yeah.
so I get a bit confused about the poltergeist, the whole poltergeist thing.
I'll tell you what they did touch on as well is, you know, when we listened to Darren Ritson
Oh, yeah.
about his new book Contagion, it's mentioned in here, stuff did actually follow him away from the house as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he went on holiday, and a couple of things happened, and Guy Playfair stayed in the house while they were on holiday for a week, and nothing happened in the house. But a few things happened while they were on holiday to the family. Not much, but a few things. But when the voices came, when they were both speaking for Belle, they were actually doing this when they were in the shop and stuff like that. They were speaking to people like that.
Wow.
So his book, which I've got, by the way, as well, which I'm going to read, that's my next one to read.
Yeah.
I find that interesting that it does actually follow the person in cases, which is where Darren goes on about this contagion. Yeah. So, which I'd never really thought at the time. See, I always thought of poltergeist before I started getting into this was all to do with the house and this, but obviously now it's to do with a person, whether they are doing it themselves or something's affecting that person. We don't know, do we? But it does actually follow them apparently. But it seems to be affecting two of them, both girls.
So at the end, I know you've not come to the end of the book, but I know you already know the case anyway. So what brought an ending to it? Did it just sort of gradually fade
just
away?
depleted,
Did they
yeah.
do something that put a stop to it, or did it just...
Stopped.
So it just stopped as quick as it started, and we've got no theories about why that might be, or...
Why it started or why it
Why it
stopped.
Are they still about?
Sorry?
Are they still about, the girls?
Oh, the girls are, yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
does Janet have any... Does she practice as a medium? Does she
I
have
don't know.
anything...
Not as I know
to
of,
do with-
I don't really know. The last sort of interview I saw of both of them was probably 10 years ago now.
Wow. Okay.
They sort of disappeared, and then The Conjuring came out, didn't it? And they sort of did all the interviews and everything when
Right.
The Conjuring came out.
Okay.
Conjuring 2 came
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah.
I don't know, because they were similar age to me, I think, because it was all happening in 77.
Quite old then.
Yeah, that old.
Yeah, quite old.
Yeah, not as old as you, but probably the same age as me.
How
It was still in black and white.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Were they speaking?
So they were
Is it
teenagers.
silence?
They were teenagers in 77, so they were probably about 4 to 5 years older than me. So, I saw everything in black and white. But what I find interesting about just reading the book is there's another 2 cases now that I need to research, which would be
No, that's good.
Yeah.
There might be more. I don't know.
So you got to go to the Cambridge Library to find those?
I don't know yet, because I've only actually got these 2 cases today. I actually tried to finish the book today, but I had other stuff for doing, and I didn't have time to finish it. So I haven't actually even typed the names in. Off the top of my head, I couldn't even tell you the names now of these other cases, But there's another couple of investigators that have investigated these poltergeist cases, which I shall look into, and they are part of the SPR.
I did contact the SPR and asked about original notes to specifically the Enfield, and they did get back to me and say that all the originals, because they have got an online library with a lot of stuff on there, but they've said original notes to cases are all held within the Cambridge Library. And I did say that I was going to try and contact them to see if there's... Because obviously not everybody can travel to that library that wants to do any kind of research, and I wondered if I contacted them if they could sort of scan and fax or email or something, notes, because it would be quite a journey for us to go there. So we'll see if we can get hold of them.
I know the actual tapes. Some geezer's got them in his shed, hasn't he? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And that way, down that way, he lives in some purple thatched cottage.
Wow.
Saw it on an interview not that long ago, but he's got like a big shed, a bit like my meditation shed, but it's full of the actual tapes of Morris Courses.
Okay.
Yeah, got all that.
Wow.
So that isn't actually in the library or the SPR building. I think he's head of the SPR, or he was at the time anyway.
Right, okay.
And he's got them on his...
So I wonder if he's had any activity around the tapes.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Like we're talking about haunted objects and things.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Who knows?
And I'll tell you what I read today as well, just came back. We call it EVPs. And because they're hearing these voices and everything, they decided, well, I wonder if we can pick voices up on tape without us asking any questions. So they, for the first time during this case, I'm not saying it was the first time it was ever done, them personally, left tape recorders running by not asking questions and listening. And there was things on there left, disembodied voices and that left on it, which is like what we do now for EVPs.
Yes.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And they were saying with the tape, they were doing that, but then it was affecting the tapes as well. The tapes were turning off and pausing and rewinding on their own and stuff like that,
Yeah. I think I certainly have even tried doing EVPs and played it back and sort of even lost audio, just it's gone and no idea why.
Yeah. I think we've had it once on an investigation, we've just lost the lot.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's quite a common thing, isn't it, with electrical gear when you're on investigations. I think the theory is that spirit draw the energy out the batteries and deaden things and interfere, and that's the theory, isn't it? So
I can't remember where we went, but I think I recorded stuff on video, which it was all working fine. And when I got back the next day, there's absolutely nothing on my memory card.
Yeah.
So there was nothing on at all. So, And it wasn't like Mark. Yeah, another shout out to Mark. Didn't realise he got a 120 gig hard drive on his camera. And because I never had, because I sold it to him.
Oh, Mark that can't find the on button.
Yeah, that's
that
it,
Mark.
yeah. He said there's nothing to the working on my memory card. He's found it on his massive hard drive on his camera. It's funny. I can't wait to get him on here, I tell you.
Yeah, we're going to get him on, aren't we, as a guest?
Yeah, we will. We'll get him
Very
on.
interesting guy.
Just a thought about these, when we say batteries die and when you're videoing stuff, what do you think about, and it's just come to me, it just probably sounds stupid, but when people get married in these big halls that do ghost hunts in and everything, it's supposed to be haunted, I wonder if any of the photographers or the videographers, their equipment goes down. Can you imagine doing a wedding and your batteries drained and you can't take photos?
I have seen in the past, I have seen a couple of photographs of wedding photographs that have been taken in these big places, and they think they've caught anomalies in the background or at the side, or there's an extra guest standing somewhere, or I have seen, obviously, wedding photographs like that, but
But all of it gone.
Imagine that. Oh my God, you'd die. So if there's anybody out there who knows of a photographer that has
just lost everything,
and they need an excuse, they can message us in and we'll do a little report for you, and you can say to the clients,
it was paranormal.
It was a ghost, it wasn't me.
Or a bit of advice, don't ever hold your wedding reception at an haunted building.
You know what, batteries, just the batteries running low, not losing all your footage, but you know, when things like that happen, they probably just think it's a faulty battery or there's something gone wrong, whereas if it happens to us, we probably think, oh, something's drawing energy. It's people don't think down the same way, do they? If you're not actively investigating. This is what I was saying earlier. I think many things happen and you just shrug it off because you're not even aware that it could be a paranormal event. No,
that's right, yeah.
So
the cold as well can affect batteries, can't it? The cold.
Yes, of course, yeah.
You know,
or heat, I suppose, both.
Well, I charged a battery up on one of my cameras and left it in my shed over the winter for about 2 weeks. When I got to it, it was completely dead.
Yeah.
And it took nearly a day for me to get a charge in that battery.
Yeah.
So, if that sort of thing happens when you're investigating, there's got to be some sort of...
Yeah, of course.
You know, and it's got to be really cold. It's got to be extreme or something.
For it to happen in such a short amount of time.
I have seen that happen. I have seen my battery drain gone. On more than one occasion. So I know that happens. Yeah. What causes it, I don't know. I can't say, but it does happen.
But I do think that there could also be... Obviously, it's not always paranormal. There's other... I know on my laptop, for instance, I can open the lid and it can say 99% charged, and within about 5 minutes of using it, I'll look again and it's flashing 3%.
It happens on your phone, doesn't it?
It happens.
30% on your phone and then it turns off.
Yeah,
it does happen.
Yeah.
But do you think that if we're saying these, let's just say the spirits are coming and draining your batteries, if a spirit is just us without a physical body, then why aren't we the spirit which is in the body draining the battery? Do you understand what I mean? What's the changeover from somebody who's passed who can come and drain your battery? You mean they're just the spirit of us in our body, so why can't we drain the batteries? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, is it just a case of because we're still in our shell, if you want to call it our body, that we can naturally take energy in from our everyday surroundings, but once our spirit kind of leaves our body, they don't, I don't know.
Do they need to pull that energy from somewhere else?
Don't know, just interested.
If I knew that, Nick, I wouldn't be ghost hunting. But that's a really good question, though. Now I know what you're saying. Why don't we drain it?
Yeah, because we are electrical. If athletes run at about 2 volts, I think it is.
Right. Okay.
Do you think maybe that when we're living and we're on Earth, that we naturally pull energy from the Earth as we're here?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, a lot of people walk around barefoot
Yes,
for grounding
We do that,
and
don't we?
earthing
All the time.
themselves. But obviously, once we leave this earth, we're not grounded as such. So we've got to try and get our energy from somewhere else.
Definitely
So like an attachment. So if someone's got an attachment to themselves, that's something draining their energy off the body.
Possibly, yeah.
We are just like batteries, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you
We're
go
all
for
energy,
science.
aren't we? It's all about energy and vibrations, and so yeah.
Yeah. I suppose that's when mediums say, they're drained. If that might be the reason. I don't know.
Well, that does actually happen, you know, if you have a decent session and there's a lot of activity going on, and you'll sit down after, and there's many a time you felt drained, haven't you?
Yeah.
You're absolutely knackered.
You know what I do? Yeah, I had a thing that when I investigate, when I've finished investigating, I always have a massive craving for junk food. And I don't know if that's the same thing, sort of sugars and fats, and like I'm drained and I need to... Do you know what I mean? I always have a big craving for...
Do you always smoke a joint while you're doing it?
Get the munchies afterwards.
Yeah.
But that we had a routine of, before investigating, we always used to go to McDonald's before and have something a bit junky to give us that extra energy while we were there, and eat chocolate, anything sugary. But then afterwards, I always get a massive craving for junk food after I've investigated. Whether that's connected to feeling a bit drained or not, I don't know.
Or that could be why they died. If it you could have been in contact with somebody who's got diabetes or something.
Starved, locked in a box somewhere, not fed for like 6 months.
Great.
That's why we got all these donuts here. So
I think it's a good one, and I think on another one, we ought to talk about the energies. I mean, who says a spirit sets off electromagnetic field? Some geezer who designed something.
No, I think
Make a few
actually,
buck.
I've actually read
Oh,
about,
come on, yeah,
honestly,
so-
I've read about this, but with me being of a certain age and a bit hormonal, my memory's not great anyway, but I think it was to do with some psychologist years ago noticed that there was somebody having some sort of episodes where they thought they were having paranormal events, and he whittled it down to, there was a digital clock, bedside clock next to the bed. They only ever had it in that room, and he kind of deduced by doing different experiments that it was the energy, that the EMF that was being given off from this clock. As we know now, high EMF can give you them kind of
that's why you should never
feeling
sleep next to a plug.
Exactly, feeling like you're being watched. It can make you feel a bit paranoid. It can make the hair on the back of your neck, you know, it can cause all of this. And he deduced that that's what was making that person have these episodes. So then from that, then they deduce that maybe when there's spirit around, it can set EMF off. And it was like a bit of a chain reaction as why people, where they got to the point where let's use these tools that workmen use to see where there's high EMF, because that's where it came from originally, apparently.
Well, I think I've said before, I went to a house where she was reporting ghosts. And she used to do the washing up, and her head was right next to the boiler, and that was so...
It's because at high EMF levels can create a lot of the same effects of a paranormal experience.
Do you also
so they put
think...
the two together.
Jim says he sees a lot of stuff.
I can believe it.
He's epileptic. How do you think that's...
Well, that's all to do with the electrics to the brain and
and
connections and stuff,
do you
isn't
think
it? So
people with epilepsy are more likely to see stuff?
Yeah, I used to work in a care home with adults with autism.
Right.
And obviously I can't say go into it too much, but the guy who I used to look after, I'm 99% sure that he was seeing things
Yeah.
different than definitely what I was
I
seeing.
mean, people say, don't they, that we all have the ability, and it's just that one small part of your brain that people just don't use. But you can train yourself, and you can exercise that one area, and you can sort of get it going, if you like. So people who have seizures and epilepsy, it's all to do with electrodes in their brain and stuff, isn't it? Could it be that they're accessing that part more readily than...
Well, it is going all the time, because obviously he has medication to stop the actual seizures.
Yeah.
So all that is going on in his brain all the time,
Yes.
isn't it? You know? So I was just wondering whether people with epilepsy do... You know, see more apparitions
absolutely.
or whatever.
I mean, you hear about cases of people who have had brain injuries that can now have visions and become what we call mediums, and can, you know what I mean, after a brain injury. So I think it is all to do with your brain, isn't it, and what parts are in use and what parts aren't.
Not just that, like all these kids who are on the autistic scale, they're saying something like, I think it's from the 70s, they're actually calling them indigo kids, aren't they? That's what the term for these kids
right,
are.
okay.
It's all changing.
And is that a reference to what they call the third eye? Because they reckon the colour of that's like an indigo-y purpley colour, isn't it? You know, when you try and...
on the chakras, that's what colour it is. Whether that's a reference to the indigo children, I'm not sure. But yeah, that's what they call them anyway.
Cool.
Interesting.
Right, guys. If you've got any thoughts about what we've talked about tonight,
or any stories,
stories or anything like that, just drop us a line. The email is
contact@ghostencounters.org.
Right, our Facebook page is up and running now, isn't it?
Facebook page
so
is
you could messages on that.
Yeah.
We've got a few episodes on YouTube as well. Ghost Encounters on YouTube.
And can you comment on those as well, Nick? Can you leave comments on the YouTube ones, or?
I'm not sure if I think I've turned them off, to be honest.
Okay.
Obviously, we're still, getting going. So, and we all know what social media is like. We don't need any negativity at this point in time. So I think that's probably why I've left them off. But they will be turned on.
But you will be able to messages on the page,
you
can messages and that sort of thing. So,
but we would like to hear from you.
Well, that's why we're doing it, isn't it? We want interaction from other people.
Yeah.
And at some point, we'd like to tell your stories. We will do one, we might even, in the next couple of podcasts, we don't know, tell you about some of our experiences, some of our personal experiences. Yeah, our personal experience, but we'd like to hear some of your personal experiences.
Yeah, it would be great if you could email or message with experience you've got, and we could either just discuss that, if you want to leave your name, if you want us to leave your name off, that's perfectly fine also. We can talk about some of your experiences, or even possibly give you a bell and see if you wanted tell us in your own words and have a chat to yourself on the podcast.
Yeah, we can hook you up through the phone line.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. Right then, I think we're going to leave it at this one for this week. So we'll see you next week.
Yep, so long, farewell.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.